When you think about squat technique, you think about stance, you think about hand width, you think about foot angle, you think about bracing. But there's one thing that most people miss out on, which is a very important part of squatting, and that's going to be your foot pressure. Now, foot pressure is very important when you're squatting because it will dictate your bar path. And your bar path is one of the most important parts of squatting, because if you are going too forward onto your toes, too far backwards onto your heels, you're going to be leaking strength and you're going to be a lot weaker when you're squatting and a lot less stable. But what actually is good foot pressure and good bar path? What you define as good foot pressure is what some people would say finding midfoot and driving through the midfoot. This is going to be 50% of your pressure through your toes and 50% through your heels. So you're not too toe heavy or too heel heavy, and that's where midfoot comes from. Now, as we spoke about before, your foot pressure is going to dictate your bar path. But what is the right bar path for you? Now, the right bar path is a bar path that you can maintain over your midfoot and you're not deviating too far forward or too far backwards. And now the reason behind this is when you're squatting, it's a vertical motion. So you're pushing down into the ground and then you're going back up. But if we're moving horizontally, that's more force that's being leaked. Because if you're over your toes, for example, you're gonna have to move back over your midfoot. So you have that horizontal movement as well as vertical. So you're just leaking energy and leaking that force production. So that's why this is really, really important. But now we understand what the correct bar path is and what the correct foot pressure is going to be. How are you actually going to achieve this? Now, a lot of the time, some people will get away with just cueing. So cueing, if you're too heel heavy, cueing more toe pressure. If you're too toe heavy, cueing more heel pressure, etc. But sometimes that doesn't work for people and you need a physical constraint. And that's where movement constraints are going to come in. A movement constraint is something that's going to put you in a certain position so you lift a certain way. So there's a couple of ways that you can go about giving yourself variations to help with foot pressure and bar path. First one is going to be tempo squats. So with tempo squats, and this will be tempo on the way down, you can also do it on the way up as well. Just depends on how much help you actually want. But we'll talk about tempo on the way down for the time being. So when you're going slow on the way down, you're going to notice more if you're shifting far forward or shifting far back, and you're going to be able to recalibrate your foot pressure mid-rep. So with this, I would recommend to just do it on the way down, but if you want to do it on the way up and if that helps you feel more stable and you can feel your foot pressure better, then that's absolutely fine. And how you're going to program this is this can either be done as a warm-up. So if you don't want to change your program too much, you can do this as a warm-up on your squat days, or if you want to add it in as like a variation, like a secondary variation, maybe either add it onto your heavy squat day or your secondary squat day, so your lighter squat day if you have one. Now, something else you can do to help with foot pressure is going either barefoot or with your socks on, so without any shoes, because a lot of the time, if you're squatting in these like heeled shoes with a very hard sole, or Jordans, or any like flat shoe that has a decently hard sole, you might not be able to connect with the ground as much and feel how your foot pressure is. So if you take off your shoes, do a couple of, maybe you do this as a warm-up, or you do this on all of your squat sets so you can actually feel how you're pushing into the ground. It's the same sort of idea with the tempo squats. There's going to be a constraint as you're going to be able to feel if you're too toe heavy or too heel heavy, and use that to recalibrate your foot pressure in the middle of the rep or on the next set, because you feel if you're shifting too far forward, for example. Now, another warm-up you can do is rocking backwards and forwards. Now, the idea of this is you'd probably put like either 20 kilos or 60 kilos, somewhere around that on the bar. You would unrack the bar as normal, walk out as normal. What you're going to do is you're going to rock far onto your toes, rock far onto your heels, and do that about 10 to 15 times. And now doing that, you're going to see what it feels like to be very toe heavy or very heel heavy. So you can use that to calibrate your foot pressure, to find where midfoot is, where that 50-50 split is around. Now, I'd recommend to do this before every single squat session that you do to make sure you get your foot pressure down. Drop in the comments down below if you used any of these and if any of these were helpful to you. But I hope you guys found this video helpful, and I'll see you guys in the next one.